Hi everyone and welcome to the So Marley channel. I am so excited. Today we are on it. We are finally doing that, and that is plotting Act 3 with Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Alright, so if you haven't seen Act 1 and Act 2 videos, I'm going to leave those down in the description below so you can go check them out. In my Act 1 video, I actually go over the Excel forms of beat sheets, so if that's something you're interested in, go check it out. If it's something you want access to, find me on Instagram, send me a direct message with your email and how many point of views you have, and I will be happy to send one over to you free of charge, no issues, just one writer helping another writer, right? But today, let's get into Act 3. So a story is about the transformation process and everything we have to go through in order to transform, in order to grow. When we think about Act 3, that's what we're doing. We are taking who the character was, this flawed character with issues, in Act 1. In Act 2, we are turning them into this person and giving them insight to what they need to change to become. We're doing this by throwing them challenges. They're meeting their darkest night within their own soul, and then they are having that aha moment to help overcome it. Flawed person plus experience is going to turn into the Act 3, who your hero has needed to become all along in order to XYZ, whatever the goal is. So the very first beat is called Break into Act 3. I know, it's so original. But the cool thing is it is exactly what it sounds like. So yes, your character has had the epiphany, they have had the change, they are making these changes, and they are finally going to be able to fix things the right way. So break into 3 is exactly what it sounds like. Your character has their breakthrough moment. They know how to fix things the right way, and they're going to do it. Now, Jessica Brody in the Save the Cat Writes a Novel, this is what she says. If the break into Act 2 was the hero figuring out how to fix things the wrong way, then the break into 3 is when the hero figures out how to start fixing things the right way. No more shortcuts, no more cheats, no more avoiding the bigger issues. They've lost everything, they've hit rock bottom, and they've gone through a dark night of the soul, and now they know what they have to do. Which leads us to our next act. I'm gonna go ahead, give it a guess. I'll give you one guess because you probably don't need even a guess. You know. This is when it happens, the big thing, the huge finale. This is it. This is that moment. And so for the record, break into Act 3 is about that 80% mark. And the finale goes all the way from 80% to about 99% of your book. Like I mentioned, if you want one of the beat sheets that gives you just type in your word count, it auto-calculates when things need to be happening. If you want that, go take a look on Instagram, hit me up. I won't share your emails or do anything weird like that. Like I said, it's just one writer supporting another writer. I'm cool. So here's the cool thing about Jessica Brody's Save the Cat Writes a Novel. I mean, there's lots of cool things. This is literally my #1 book that I recommend for any writer. It doesn't matter what your experience level is, just because I have found it life-changing in my own personal writing. But for the finale, she even breaks it down into a 5-point finale structure, right? Because we need more structure or something. But it's a really cool North Star. Okay, so reading straight from the book. The 5-point finale breaks down the finale into 5 sub-beats, giving us even more road markers to break up the last section of our trip. And thank goodness, we're nearing the finish line of this very long journey. We've been driving forever. We're tired. And we're weary. Yes. Okay, let's get to the 5-point, shall we? Enough melodrama. Alright, the first one is gathering the team, and we all know that our hero is not going to be doing everything by themselves. So, they are going to be gathering a team. This can come into so many different forms. This could be just a best friend. This could be a couple of really good friends. This could be a literal army that they just bought from the other side of the world. Okay? It can be anything. So let's take the Hunger Games for example. Spoiler alert, skip a few seconds if you don't want the spoiler. If you have not watched or read the Hunger Games, do it. And never be spoiled again, because it's amazing. Anyway, so the gathering the team part of the very first Hunger Games is when the game makers announce to everybody that they will allow 2 victors. And in this moment, Katniss has that like, I got chill bumps. Look, I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. I can't help it. I love the Hunger Games. But they end up, Katniss knows, she hears the message and she's like, oh my gosh, this means I get to team up with Peeta. Like, how amazing is that, right? So that is just like one way of like gathering the team. The second thing is to execute the plan, right? Because there's a plan. Hopefully we stormed into Act 3 with this big breakthrough, and hopefully there's a little bit of a roadmap, maybe? We know these moments, and they're very, very powerful. They are the moments that put us on the edge of our seats. Is this really going to work? Can this really work? Think about it. Your hero has failed so many times by this particular point that the reader is excited that there's going to be a victory and that a plan is finally going to work, hopefully. So it's also, this particular subbeat is interesting because not only does it have to deal with actually executing the plan, right? But there's one of 2 things that usually happens. And I'm thinking of a lot of like Disney cartoons, like I'm thinking about Atlantis in this particular part. But it's like where a lot of your like B characters have their shining moment, where they're that like perfect person to do XYZ in order to help the plan go further, right? And so it's like they get their little shining star moment, which is really, really cool. Or on the flip side, this is where like B characters start dying. And you're like, what? Why? I loved that character. Why would you do this to me? And so if you have something planned where you're going to show off your B characters or you're going to kill your B characters, this is kind of where that should be happening, is in this second beat within the finale main umbrella beat. Probably the most epic example of this, again, spoilers, but if this spoils you, get out of the hole you're living under. The hole? Get out of the rock you're living under. I'm sorry, I'm silly today. I need to go back to bed or something. Anyway, the best example of this is like in Harry Potter, right? The very first one, the Sorcerer's Stone, like you've got like Ron Weasley, like on the chess pieces, right? You've got Hermione doing her thing, and then they both have to sacrifice themselves. But right before that sacrifice, they got their shine. So it was kind of like a 2-for-1 deal where J.K. Rowling actually did both of them before the next part. All right, so point number 3 is the High Tower surprise. This is the most exciting point, in my personal opinion, of all of these little mini beats that we're going through. And I'm pretty sure anytime you've been moved in a story, you know exactly what this is, because you can pinpoint it down to this specific little micro beat. And this is the High Tower surprise. So the plan has come through. It's been executed fairly flawlessly, you know, hopefully with not too many deaths, but the plan has worked. And then the bad guys get the upper hand again, because that's always what happens. But these are really, really touching moments in addition to it. So you're sitting there with your like stomach in knots in this moment, because it's like you're so happy, so happy, so happy, so happy, so happy that everything is working. Huzzah! And then you're smacked right back down to planet Earth, where you're like, and of course something else goes wrong. So I'm trying to think of an example where this has happened, where I was touched the most. And The example I want, I don't know, it's fuzzy for me. I'm gonna try and do it though, but Game of Thrones, I can't remember what season finale, one of the earlier ones, so 2 or 3 maybe. Stannis is attacking King's Landing, and the way, it's a little different in the books, but for the most part, the show got this particular thing right, and it was way more impactful in the show than it actually was in the books, for once, believe it or not. But Tyrion figured out Cersei was playing with the wildfire, the big green eruption happened, and it was like, oh my gosh, that worked, right? And then Stannis kept coming, right? So you get that scene where Joffrey goes and hides, the Hound is like, oh my gosh, fire, bye-bye, and Tyrion is left trying to figure out what to do next, how he's going to protect his family. And so not only is this like a huge upper hand for your villain, it's a very impactful moment for your character where they have to say, you know what, this might have put me in the dark night of soul if this happened in Act 2. But this happened in Act 3, so I gotta get my stuff together and I gotta make this finale worth it. This is it, it's now or never, right? And they gotta really dig deep, they gotta turn into that person that they have been really aiming to become, that they have become. They gotta stay that person and not tuck tail and run. So think of an ending of any movie that has just really been impactful to you. Think about the emotion behind it in this specific plot point, because I think you're gonna find that it has very less to do with how awesome the enemy conquers them and much more to do about the self-reflection the character has to have quickly in order to get that challenge, in order to go beyond what they would have normally done in the past, right? So that's when the endings are just really, really just, which leads us directly into the fourth mini plot point here. Dig down deep, right? So this character normally would have done something, right? This Act 1 character would have done something a very certain way, but this Act 3 character is not that person anymore. They will do what they need to do in order to defeat the villain, in order to overcome this obstacle, in order to get to that happily ever after at the end of the book. But in order to do that, guess what? They gotta dig down deep. They have to realize that theme in the beginning of the story. Do you remember your theme? Do you remember what your story's about? Because right now that theme is coming and it's hitting your character and it's going to lift your character up just that one more level. It is going to cement them into this Act 3 person for the rest of that character's life. They are having that aha moment. They are growing. They are becoming exactly who they've needed to be this whole time. And even though it might be easy to turn into Act 1 character and do the easy thing and get out, they're not going to do the easy thing. They're going to do the right thing. And you really, really need to squeeze that lemon for all that juice. You need the emotion. You need that self-reflection. I know a lot's probably going on because it's the finale and so it's going to be like super shiny, right? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? But for the most part, you need to make sure you have this moment where you are connecting with the theme of the story, and it needs to happen right here. So then, the last one, number 5, execution of the new plan. Aha, cha-ching, light bulb, self-reflection moment. Am I Act 1 or Act 3? Oh, I am Act 3, we got a new plan, we're doing it. So it's the execution of the next plan. It is your character thinking on their feet and doing it and delivering it. I feel like a preacher today. I'm sorry. Am I getting like way too aggressive with my hand stuff? I'm just excited. Don't judge. So now that you know the 5 micro beats to the finale, what's next? The very last beat you need to plan, and that is the final image. And this final image, in a way, it's like, it kind of feels like your character's been doing circles, right? They started here and then they like end here again, right? And I mean, maybe they physically end somewhere else, but for the most part, it feels almost like they're doing circles if you don't do your final image correctly. So what do I mean by that? I mean, there's so much advice on the final image. There's so many ways people have done it right, so many ways authors have done it wrong. And I know, I tell you all the time that there are no rules to writing, really. And I still stand by that. But when it comes to this, what in a final image either makes it grand or makes it feel like your character really hasn't gone anywhere? They're just doing circles. I believe that the final scene should have as much thought put into it as the very first opening image. I know people really focus on that opening image because it's what hooks an agent or it's what hooks a reader. But what's gonna hook your reader or your agent for the next book? Even if it's not a series, you probably might write again. What's gonna hook them for that next one? It's how you end this. And here's the tricky thing, is it's one scene, one quick scene that perfectly captures everything your hero has evolved into. You have to make sure you're using your visuals, your symbolism, you're tying every loose end together. If it is a series, make sure there's that inkling of what is to come, right? But at the end of the day, it's one very, very important scene. It is the last 1% of your story. And it is purely there to show the transformation of your character. So, we are here. Next Thursday, I will be wrapping up the hero's journey. And then come December, we're going to be working on editing. I'm probably going to have 2 months of editing videos just because of how intense editing can be. I love to edit. I am an intense editor and I try not to be. I try not to be intense about it, but you know, you are what you are. As I've gotten older, I feel like I've become less creative and far more analytical, and it could just be because of what I do as a career. But now I'm finding that like my analytical brain really takes over with editing, and I have so much fun with it. And so if you've ever seen my editing, you know what I talk about. And if you haven't seen my editing, maybe one day I'll give up the writing dream and I'll just become an editor. But not today, not today. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope to see you again soon. Leave a comment below. Let me know where you are in your journey, how you're doing on your journey, and if you have any additional questions. All right, bye.